Today on Around Kansas Deb is sharing some wonderful entertainers, writers, and interesting anniversaries coming up in Kansas. Dave Kendall is back with the story of the Lost Spring along the Santa Fe Trail. On the Front Porch, Trent Blythe with Level Creek Outfitters joins us. Ron Wilson is back, and we finish with Michelle Martin's story of historic Fort Scott.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on three main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Good Wednesday morning. I'm Deb Goodrich. Welcome to Around Kansas. I'd like to give a shout out to a couple of good friends this morning, Marshall Allen Bailey and Cowgirl Janie. Marshall Allen Bailey has been producing an incredible radio program for more than 30 years now. And Cowgirl Janie has been along for the ride for quite a while. Western Swing and Other Things is available for you to listen to on truckersradiousa.com. And truckersradiousa.com has joined the Santa Fe Trail Association in promoting the bicentennial of that historic trail next year. So we're thrilled to have them along and thrilled every week to listen to Alan and Janie and some terrific programming. So give them a listen when you get a chance and tell them that Deb sent you. Another shout out goes to my friend Brenda Culbertson, who has produced another book in her series, The Excavator. I do not have time to read a lot of fiction. I like fiction, but I just don't have time. 95% of what I read is for research, and I love that too. But I love the good novel every now and then. And I'm telling you, Brenda has it. She is a tremendous writer, tremendous person, and I highly recommend that you get this new installment in the Excavator series. I think you'll find some of those places very, very interesting. Another shout out, I-70 is having a big anniversary this year, 50 years. 50 years. And of course, the interstate highway system that was commenced under President Eisenhower and of course President Harry Truman from neighboring Missouri was also a champion of roads. So I think it's pretty interesting that we have these two presidents so instrumental in the formation of our highway system and the promotion of roads that are, just nearly neighbors here in Kansas and Missouri. Different political parties, but a lot of similarities between those two incredible men. So in the near future, we will have a feature on I-70. And in the meantime, would you send me some footage on I-70? Because I know, like many of you, I travel I-70 almost every day. Oakley is right on I-70 and Highway 40 and Highway 83. So our roads just lead it everywhere, don't they? But share some of your footage. And despite what a lot of folks say about the scenery in Kansas being boring, you and I know that that is not true. So let's share some of the pretty scenery along I-70. And of course, there's some fantastic overlooks, and you don't have to go far off I-70 to reach them. The one at Manhattan comes to mind, which is, oh my goodness, just spectacular. What an incredible view from that overlook, just a short distance off I-70. And there's just so many pretty places along the way. And the interstate system is so important. And of course, I-70, just an incredible artery through our nation. So some important stories there. If you take video, please take it horizontally. So that makes it easier and my producer won't fuss at me. We have a great show for you this morning. I'm so glad you could join us.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for that grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer it and work with you.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
Dave Kendall has been sharing with us many of the segments of the documentary he is working on for the anniversary of the Santa Fe Trail. And along with him on many of those treks is Rex Buchanan. And Rex joins him today for a visit to Lost Springs. I think this is my favorite segment they have done so far, because the story of the springs and the water is so, so, so important and still is today. Let's take a look.
Continuing our journey along the Santa Fe Trail, Rex Buchanan and I met up at a notable site on the western edge of the Kansas Flint Hills to talk about the importance of springs to those who traveled the trail.
This is actually a pretty good place to talk about that, because you're right on the verge of a pretty major change in the topography and just the general setting that the trail is going through. The best known spring along the trail is one not very far east of here at Diamond Spring. That's a big spring. Even today, I don't remember what the flow rate is, but it's hundreds of gallons of water per minute. So you could have a pretty fair number of people, a pretty fair number of animals show up at the same time. It's not really much of an issue. Just this far west, things have already started to change. This location, Lost Spring, while there is a spring fenced off back behind me here, and it's everybody's idea of a spring, which is a water flowing out sufficient to form a channel, a few gallons per minute. It's not the only spring here. Just within eyesight here, there are 2 or 3 more that come out of that side of the bank that are delivering water as well. And the original spring in this location, original for the spring that people used along the Santa Fe Trail, is even farther north of here. So there are springs coming up all up and down this creek bank, and the name Lost Spring just because sometimes people come out here and spring wouldn't be here, or they couldn't find it. Sometimes that's a function of this spring right here might not be flowing, but another one on up a ways would be. Or in a particularly really dry time, if you got 2 or 3 dry summers in a row, my guess is these springs dried up completely, and they were lost completely. So now you're beginning to see what you're up against. And that's just sort of the beginning of how life is as you go from here to the west. Springs become really, really important as you get to the west of here, and in a dry year, sometimes they're not there at all.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
At Farm Credit, we partner with America's farmers who work hard each and every day to grow the food that we all enjoy. It's not an easy task, but it's an important one. Farm Credit is proud to work with farmers and ranchers, lending support in rural America.
Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to Western Kansas.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
I'm Dwayne Tames, and my guest today is Trent Blythe with Level Creek Outfitters. Trent, tell us how you got started in the guided hunt and outfitting business.
Stage one was just getting the hunters here and getting them comfortable. So we put up a 20 by 35 or so hunting shed, that I call it, and we had local carpenters do the main structure and the concrete floor and that whole 9 yards. And then my dad and my brothers and I, we had a bunch of old tin from one of our older barns, and we kind of lined the walls and insulated and did all the wiring and that kind of thing. And then we have a nice wood stove in there, but that's kind of the main structure with the TV and a good little sit-down area to eat and hang out. From there, we went from 100 birds. That first year, I started raising them. Each year, we've grown up to now 2,000. But I have my own flight pen and brooder room. I get them as day-old chicks. Then about a month old, we move them outside, and then they spend the rest of their time in a flight pen. Very little human contact, so we can make them as wild as possible. Otherwise, the different accommodations that we have, I send the guys to Council Grove, called the Cottage House, to stay the night. They're really great people that own that. I've gotten to be pretty good friends with them, and we bounce clients back and forth, but that would be where they stay the night if they want to hunt the whole weekend, just about 20 minutes away from my place. And then I bring them back to the hunting shed and provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And and then they can hang out and watch any football game or basketball game that's on TV and just enjoy themselves in between hunts.
Let's talk a little bit about bird raising. I suspect it was maybe different than feeding show heifers, but maybe more complicated at times.
You're definitely right on more complicated, or at least it seemed like to me those first few years. I'm still learning the ropes 4 years into it, but said I got them as day-old chicks, so that means they're 24 hours old, and they're shipped to me. And from there, you put them in a temperature-controlled room, roughly 92 degrees on the ground. You got to bed it down and have food and water everywhere, basically, so they're just tripping over it. And then a nice ventilation fan in order to keep the low humidity. That's a pretty important part, keep the chicks dry. From there, as I said, they stay in there for probably 3 weeks, and then they move to another room, and you put what's called blinders on them, which I compare to a small sleeping mask. It just keeps them from pecking each other, and it doesn't allow them to see directly forward. They can see down and backward, but mainly is to keep them from cannibalistic tendencies and pecking each other, because they'll get pretty rough and tear each other up pretty bad. So that's where the blinders come into play. And then at a month old, we put them outside, and really the management from there is pretty easy. You just keep the feeders and the waterers full and pick them up whenever it's time to go hunting, whenever the season starts.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
Hop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Hop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer and work with you.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
Cowboys love to eat, and it was an essential part of modern day life as well as the old cattle drives. And so the cookie was a very important part of the crew in the old times of those great cattle drives from Texas to Kansas. This poem is a tribute to that chuck wagon. It's called Our Friend Chuck Wagon. An army travels on its stomach, a wise person once said, because a food supply is important when a group's marching ahead. We have to have food when a group is on the move. It's essential to life and to keep us in the groove. That's true for armies, as seen from soldiers' leadership, and for others, such as a lengthy family trip. And it was also true in yesteryear on cattle drives of old, when longhorn herds came north with cowboys brave and bold. Those cowboys had to eat, so a chuck wagon came too, with food supplies and a cook to make it do. It might have sourdough for biscuits, lots of pots and pans, with coffee, dried fruit, beans, and maybe something in some cans. The chuck wagon would roll along, accompanying the herd, to serve the cowboys food when the boss would give the word. We give thanks for this system, which former history reveals. I guess the chuck wagon was the original Meals on Wheels. Happy trails.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
At Farm Credit, we partner with America's farmers who work hard each and every day to grow the food that we all enjoy. It's not an easy task, but it's an important one. Farm Credit is proud to work with farmers and ranchers, lending support in rural America.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
Kansans have a new choice for Medicare supplement insurance plans. With Medicare supplement insurance plans from Kansas Farm Bureau, you have access to 4 levels of coverage, affordable rates, and service from an organization that's served Kansans for more than 100 years. For more information on Kansas Farm Bureau Medicare supplement plans, including rates and to apply, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
My partner in historic crimes, Michelle Martin, comes to us many Wednesday mornings with stories of some terrific history around Kansas. And she is my co-author on Kansas Forts and Bases. I'm so proud of this book. And when Michelle and I thought about this, I actually called her and said, I want to do a book on Kansas forts and bases. Will you help me? Because I thought, man, she can do all the hard work. So we sat in my living room, made a list of all the forts and bases we could think of, and then split the list. And we had to fight over a few. Of course, one of the ones that she really wanted to do was Fort Scott. And she's sharing some of that incredible history with us this morning.
Good morning, Deb, and good morning to all our viewers. When I first moved to Kansas, one of the first places I visited was the historic community of Fort Scott. Today, let's learn more about Fort Scott National Historic Site and the crack post of the frontier.
Fort Scott, once described as the crack post of the frontier by its architect, Captain Thomas Swords, was constructed in 1842. During its lifetime, the fort was charged with keeping the peace along the permanent Indian frontier line, stopping illegal settlement in Indian Territory, and escorting settlers and wagon trains along the Santa Fe and Oregon trails. By the late 1840s, increased Western settlement rendered the fort obsolete in the eyes of the military. The fort's buildings, eventually sold at auction, became the nucleus of the community of Fort Scott. During the Bleeding Kansas era, the town of Fort Scott was divided over the issue of slavery. The grounds and buildings of the old fort were scenes of unrest and bloodshed. When Kansas entered the Union as a free state in 1861, the fort's buildings once again saw military use. The fort served as a supply hub for the Union Army in the West, a hospital, and a refugee station for those fleeing from the conflict and seeking freedom from slavery. Fort Scott also played an important role in recruiting and training African American and American Indian men for military service during the Civil War. The 1st Kansas Colored Infantry and the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Regiments of Indian Home Guards were mustered into service at Fort Scott. After the close of the war, the military once again left Fort Scott. The buildings and military equipment were sold, the hospital was closed, and soldiers sent home. For a brief time from 1870 to 1873, the Army returned to Fort Scott to settle disputes between railroad developers and settlers. Today, Fort Scott is a unit of the National Park Service, and visitors can see 20 historic structures, the parade ground, soldiers' barracks, officers' row, laundress quarters, a bakehouse, the quartermaster's supply, and stables. Living history interpreters at the site bring the people and stories of the fort to life for visitors each year during events like the Civil War encampment and living history events held on Memorial Day, Good Old Days, July 4th, Labor Day, and the annual Candlelight Tour. Fort Scott is a historic treasure that connects us to the past and helps us learn about the conflicts and compromises that created the place we call Kansas.
When you want to take a historic Kansas road trip, don't forget to visit Fort Scott National Historic Site and tell them Deb and Michelle sent you. I hope you'll join me next time for another historical adventure somewhere around Kansas.
Our most precious gift to one another is our time, and it means a lot to me that you spend your time with me every Wednesday. Thanks so much. Have a great week, and I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.